In video number 9, I just showed you how to load TMX maps from the tiled map editor, and this is the same code I wrote in video number 9. And in this part I'm just going to show you how to add collidable objects. So first of all, I'm going to show you the scene. So this is the scene. We have this UFO sprite sheet and this nice background, and for now there is no collision detection with these walls or with these trees, so that's what I'm going to add in this video. So we will be able to collide with the walls and with the trees. So go to the tiled map editor, and in order to add collidable objects you need to create a new layer, and this time not a tile layer but an object layer, and I'm going to name it colliders. And here you have this rectangle, insert rectangle, so use this one, and I'm just going to click and draw a rectangle to this wall, another rectangle from here to here, another rectangle to the bottom, here one, also here one, and to this wall, to this wall, and also to this, and to this tree also. This one I'm going to make a little bit smaller. So just click and draw with the rectangle tool to create these rectangle objects. And these rectangles we are going to use for colliding, so okay, I think that's enough. So I'm going to save this file, save as, and in my desktop, and I'm going to name it, I don't know, map with colliders, and save it. Okay, so here it is in this folder, so map with colliders.tmx, and I'm going to just copy this file and put it in my res folder and inside the maps folder, map with colliders.tmx. Okay, and the first thing I like to do is just, here is this source, and it points to the top down, the tsx file, which should, can you stop down the tsx, which is this file here. So, and because it is in the same folder, I'm just going to remove the whole path and leave here just the can you stop down the tsx, and when it loads this file, it will search for this tsx file, and this tsx file is just this simple file which just points where to find the sprite sheet. So the sprite sheet underscore tiles.png, which is in this images folder, and this sprite sheet. So don't forget, if you have errors during loading the TMX file, just change this to the source attribute. So now here in the background layer, instead of loading the map01.tmx, I'm going to load the map with colliders. So map with underscore colliders.tmx. And now it has this map with colliders. So it has a ground layer, it has this trees layer, the trees. It has this furniture layer, so the furniture. And now it should have these colliders. And we can get it by, let's name it layer 4 or colliders, and is equal to the bg and colliders. So don't forget, the name must be the same as in the TMX file, or as you specified here in the layers tab. So okay, now we have loaded the colliders layer. The next thing I'm going to do is change this mover action. I don't need to call the supers step. So we have the velocity x and the velocity y, and I'm also going to create a dx or delta x, and it will be the velocity underscore x times the delta time, and the dy or the delta y will be the velocity underscore y also times the delta time. And I'm going to create a last variable which will be equal to the self.target dot get underscore rect, and the target for this mover action is the UFO layer. And because to this UFO layer was added this here in this line the sprite, it's now the sprite have this getRect method. So we are getting the sprite rectangle, image rectangle. So that was the last, and I'm going to create a new, which will be the last that copy. So into this new, it will copy the last. And the new dot x plus equals the dx, and the new dot y plus equals the dy. And also, instead of setting the target velocity like this, I'm just going to remove this line for now, and I'm going to set the self.target dot velocity equal to self.target dot I'm going to name it collide map. Yeah. It will be a collision handler function, so this one. And to this collide map I'm going to give it 4 arguments. First the last, then the new, and the last two will be the velocity x and the velocity y. So last, new, velocity x and velocity y. Okay. And I'm also going to set the self that target that position equal to the new dot center. And lastly, the scrollers set focus to, I'm just going to delete these 2 arguments and I'm just going to unpack the new that center. So just pause the video and copy all of this code if you want, of course. So, and in the UFO layer, which is a scrollable layer, I'm just going to add first of all into the init method after the self a new argument, and it will be the collision handler. So collision underscore handler. And for the sprite, so spr dot collide underscore map will be equal the collision handler. So add this line, and not to the self that collide map, but to the sprite that collide map. And as you see, this will create a function called collision handler, and here the collide map function gets called in the mover action. So the next step is here in the, now the UFO layer awaits the collision handler here. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to create a map collider, and this will be equal to the, we need to import from cocos import map colliders, yeah, from cocos import map colliders. So here the map collider will be equal to the map colliders dot tmx object map collider. Yes, okay, tmx object map collider. And we need also to set the map collider dot on bump handler, on bump. There are also on bump bounce, on bump handler. I'm just going to set the on bump handler and remove these brackets to map collider dot on bump bounce, and also remove these brackets. And the last thing is set the collision underscore handler equal to map colliders dot make collision handler. Yeah, and the first argument it takes is the map collider, so map collider, and the second argument it takes these colliders, bg background layers that colliders layer, and here is the bg layer, so bg underscore layer dot colliders, and I'm going to move the BG layer above so that I can access it here. And the very last thing is now the UFO layer awaits a collision handler, so this one. And hopefully it will work now. So let's try it out. Okay. As you see, now the collision is working, so I cannot get through the walls. Let's see the trees also working from top, from left, right. So the collision handling now works as expected, and also with the smaller trees I also added them, those collider rectangles, and here I'm going inside, and as you see everywhere when I draw those rectangles inside tiled map editor, now it collides with those objects. But one last thing we should add, the collision, if the delta time is too big, the collision won't work. So one more thing here, I'm going to ask if the dt is bigger than, let's say, 0.1, just return, so do nothing, because it is just for making sure that the collision handling always works. And you can also, if you want, you can make these rectangles visible just by adding them to the scrollable layer. So here we are adding the BG layer 1, 2, 3, and these are corresponding to the ground, trees and the furniture. And if you want to make visible the colliders on the map, you can also add to the scroller. So scroller.add the bg layer.colliders. I recommend, if you want to do this, if you want to see your collidable objects just for debugging. So now, as you can see, all the collidables are visible, these rectangles around the trees, around the walls, and around these furnitures. And I'm just going to show you one more thing. So here is almost the same code I just wrote earlier. I created a mover inheriting from the actions, and the same code here. So here nothing new, but now instead of inheriting in the UFO sprite, inheriting from the scrollable layer, I inherited from the sprite class, and I'm loading the UFO sprite sheet with animated sprite sheet, and also creating here a collide map and collision handler. And the new thing here is I'm loaded a second image, which is a child of this UFO sprite. So here I'm adding self.add the rect image, and instead of using the UFO sprite as a collider, I'm going to use this second, a little bit smaller image as a collider. So here I'm created a rect method which does the same as this sprite get rect. It just returns a new rect with xy rect image width and rect image height, which is this one, rect image width and rect image height. And this collider.png is just I can't remember, an 80 by 80 white image. Also setting its opacity to 100 and its visibility to false. And I added a custom layer, collider visibility handler, which inherits from the cocos2d layer. And this layer is just I'm using it just for the on key press event. And when I'm pressing the space key, the rect image in the UFO sprite, so this rect image, I'm just switching its visibility to true or false. If it is false, it will switch to true, and if it is true, it will switch back to false. And I'm also, if the UFO sprite, that rect image is visible, I'm also going to add to the scroller the BG layer that colliders. So also the wall colliders will be visible. And here everything is the same. So here I just needed to change some. I just created an actors layer, which is a scrollable layer, and created an UFO sprite and added to the scrollable layer, or the actors, the UFO sprite. And now I'm going to show you the result. So now, as you see, the UFO is not colliding exactly at the wall's edge, because when I press the space key, now the colliders are visible. As you see, this is the UFO's collider rectangle, and this is this image I'm loading here as a separate image and I'm adding to the UFO. And I can toggle the visibility of the colliders just by pressing the space key. So I think that's all I wanted to show you in this video. So thanks for watching and have a nice day.